Spring is well and truly upon us, which means in no time we'll be enjoying our annual 3.5 days of summer sunshine. Thankfully, I've got the perfect car for you to enjoy it in, and it's an absolute corker from Lotus's back catalogue. Hello and welcome to the Lotus Elan Sprint Drophead Coupe. Yesterday, you joined me with this awfully green little pocket-sized rocket ship. It's a 1971 Lotus Elan Sprint Drophead Coupe, and we're going to have a proper look around it, inside and out. Judging by the size of it, it shouldn't take too long. Then we're going to pop the bonnet, have a look under there, and we're going to take it out on the road, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what I think. So let's crack on. It was a simple formula really, one that had worked a million times for Lotus. Lotus founder Colin Chapman's famous motto, simplify and add lightness. The Elan was introduced in 1962 as a fun, lightweight, revvy little roadster. Less than 700 kilos in total weight meant it was incredibly light, as you can see. A punchy little 4-cylinder engine meant it was really rather an engaging thing to drive. It ticked so many of the boxes that the discerning driving enthusiast was looking for, and as such, it was a real hit. Now you might be asking yourself, when they've built so many incredibly epic cars over the years, why do I think this little pistachio green 2-seater fiberglass roadster is one of the most significant cars in Lotus's impressive history? Well, it comes down to one thing. The Elan was Lotus's first real commercial success. Now, of course, Lotus being Lotus, record keeping was rather erratic at the time, and so the exact number isn't known, but around 12,000 of these things are suspected to have been built in one form or another, which gave the brand an incredibly heavy cash injection to invest in motorsport development and overall engineering development. Lotus wouldn't be who they were today if it wasn't for this little car. Now, whilst I'm fond of the Elan in general, and I will do an in-depth video on a more run-of-the-mill standard Elan, this isn't that. This isn't just your run-of-the-mill Elan. As you may have noticed, it's got some very questionable gold bumpers, front and rear in fact, and that's because this is an Elan Sprint, or an Elan Sprint Drophead Coupe in this particular example. But what is that? To put it simply, the Sprint was the Elan turned up to 11. It was something desperately needed at a time when, after a decade in the game, the Elan was starting to dwindle in popularity. It was becoming an outdated thing, and the Sprint took care of that tremendously well, I might add. Horsepower was increased, driver engagement was improved, everything was stiffened up, and it was given a fresh new look thanks to some gold bumpers front and rear, and in most cases a two-tone paint job with gold and white lower sections, a nod to the John Player special race cars of the era. Now that is the general rule of thumb for identifying a Sprint over a standard Elan, apart from obviously this very conveniently placed Sprint badge here, but it's not always the case. Yes, they all do have these gold front and rear bumpers, but as you can see from this particular example, which still wears its lovely patinaed original paint, you could special order these in one single tone colour scheme, though it is rather a rare sight. So let's have a look under the bonnet and see what makes this Sprint so special. It all came down to two really thoroughly important words: big valve. The Lotus big valve twin cam engine finally found itself a home in the Elan with the Sprint. Horsepower was taken from the 90 horsepower in the standard Elans right the way up to 126. Performance was increased overall as well, with the top speed, though it's not that important in a lightweight car like this, brought all the way up to 123 miles an hour, and a 0 to 60 time brought up to 6.6 seconds. This was a quick little thing, a thoroughly fun thing to drive, and so much of that came down to this lovely, legendary twin cam engine, which would go on to find itself a home in some really special cars following on from this. It's textbook Lotus in here. If you've been in any of their models from this sort of era, you'll be familiar with this kind of thing. Wood finish veneer up front, tri-spoke steering wheel, two questionably comfortable seats, and a selection of Smith gauges. There's very little not to like in here. This one is a little bit on the worn side, as you can see, but in my opinion that makes it all the more better, because you know this car's been enjoyed. So then, the sun is out, the roof is down. Let's see what this Elan Sprint Drophead Coupe is like. A recipe we already know works so incredibly well. Lightweight construction, 2 seats, a revvy little twin cam 4-cylinder engine in the front. It's perfection, and it really does show when you get behind the wheel of this Elan. It sounds brilliant. It's an unmistakable engine though. That 4-cylinder twin cam engine just is sublime.
I've got the 4-speed manual gearbox in this particular car, and I think it actually suits it very well. A lot of these Elans had 5 speeds, and depending on who you ask, that's a better box, but I think a 4-speed like this really suits a little lightweight revvy roadster. Handling is second to none, but what else were you expecting me to say about this car? There's a reason they're commanding such strong values on the used markets. They drive so well. They really embody that Lotus DNA perfectly. Having done a little bit of time in this behind the wheel now, I must say it's actually a remarkably easy thing to drive. I think a lot of people think with Lotuses of this era, if you consider the Europa and things like that, that they're going to be horrible to get in and out of. The pedal box is going to be really uncomfortable and at an awkward angle, and it's just going to be an unpleasant thing to drive in the real world, and that's really not the case with this car. Yes, I've got all of that sky above me. Open air makes it nice and easy to get in and out, but there's plenty of space for 2 people in here. It's very usable and a very easy thing to live with. And it's so nippy and zippy. The Lotus Elan Sprint, what an incredible little thing. Tremendous fun.
So then, the Lotus Elan Sprint Drophead Coupe, what do I think? Well, I'm sure it's going to come as no surprise to anyone who's watched the entirety of this video, but I'm very fond of this thing. I think it's a car that embodies so perfectly what Lotus is all about. It's simple and it's light. There's nothing else to it, and that's not a bad thing. In fact, it's a perfect thing. It's a joy to behold, especially in sprint form with that big valve twin cam engine up front. It's engaging to drive, it sounds excellent, and it really looks the part, especially in this rather fetching and exotic pistachio Lotus green. I've really enjoyed my time with this specific car. I chose it purposefully over a perfect one because I think one like this tells a story a little bit more. It's got patina, it's got stone chips, it's got blemishes. It shows that someone has been enjoying this car. They've taken it out and pushed it to the max and had a great deal of fun, which is exactly what you should do with a Lotus. It's what they were designed to do. But I don't think they're going to be many more like this because they are going into preservation and making incredibly high sums of money on the open market. People are asking 50 grand for these cars now. £50,000 for a Lotus Elan. I can't see anyone taking it to the max and getting a nice, honest, well-earned patina on one they've spent £50,000 on. But if you do have the money to get yourself into a Sprint, I really, really would push you to do so because you won't regret it. The Lotus Elan Sprint Drophead Coupe gets a thumbs up from me.